Have you ever felt yourself changing, but also strangely feeling very guilty about it? You want more, you think differently now, you crave deeper conversations, deeper connections, better environment, a more aligned life, but at the same time, something inside you is hesitating. Because growth can feel very exciting, but it can also feel very lonely. And sometimes the hardest part of evolving is realizing that your current situation or your current environment may no longer fit where you are going or who you want to become, who you're becoming. And today we are talking about that hidden fear many of us quietly carry within ourselves, the fear of outgrowing the environment we are so used to. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Fly to Fulfillment podcast. I'm your host, Radhika Seth, your life enhancement coach and the founder of the Freedom Divas Hub. And today we are diving into something many women experience during periods of personal growth, the fear of outgrowing their environment. Because growth is not always comfortable. In fact, it is seldom comfortable. Sometimes, as you evolve, as you upgrade, your interests change, your mindset changes, your beliefs change, your boundaries change, and suddenly the spaces, the relationships, the connections, the conversations that once felt very familiar start to feel emotionally limiting now. And that realization can actually feel very uncomfortable because a part of you wants to expand, but a part of you is also very used to, the environment which is there right now. So that part of you actually fears what expansion may cost you. So today let's explore why this fear comes into place and how to navigate growth without abandoning yourself in the process. Firstly, you start to feel misunderstood in familiar places. So, if this is happening with you, listen to me carefully. As you evolve internally, you may notice that certain conversations they don't resonate with you anymore. You actually crave better conversations, you crave more depth, you crave more honesty, more alignment. But your environment may still expect the older version of you, which was enjoying, very surface level conversations. And this creates emotional disconnect. Not because you think you're better, but because you're actually changing and you're not enjoying those conversations anymore. Secondly, you feel guilty for wanting more. So many women suppress their growth because they are actually guilty of being selfish or being greedy. They fear appearing selfish. They fear appearing distant. They fear appearing ungrateful. So, they constantly think, oh my God, what will people think? What will he think about me? She think about me? They think about me. So they suppress their own growth because they don't want to look as somebody who's very selfish or greedy or ungrateful in somebody else's eyes. So even when they crave expansion, they are actually downplaying it because somewhere inside they believe that if I grow too much, I may lose this connection. Thirdly, you begin shrinking yourself just to stay comfortable for others. And one of the biggest signs is that you start editing yourself. And what do I mean by editing yourself? You start staying quiet. You start playing small. You start avoiding growth conversations or avoiding conversations where you will put your point forward and then you may suddenly sound very selfish or very greedy, or you may sound very stubborn about things. Not because you've stopped evolving. That's not the reason. The reason is because you are actually, you're fearing making somebody else uncomfortable. You don't want that when you speak or when you do what you want to do, or when you voice your opinion, others should feel uncomfortable in that environment. So you downplay. Number four, your nervous system. It actually fears change. And even if the change is very positive, see, you have to realize that growth creates uncertainty, correct? Because growth creates new identities, new standards, new possibilities. And even when these changes are very positive, very healthy, it's really positive and healthy to grow, to have better opportunities, a better standard of living. It's really healthy if you can enhance and upgrade yourself. Your nervous system still perceives this as something very unsafe because this is unfamiliar to it. Your nervous system is always, comfortable in familiar zones. That's why they say coming out of the comfort zone is very, very uncomfortable, because your nervous system is used to that comfort zone of yours. So a part of you resists the very thing that you actually deeply want for yourself. Number five, outgrowing something does not mean that you are trying to betray something. Now understand this, and it's one of the most important truths. Outgrowing an environment does not mean that you're not being loyal towards it, or you're betraying it, or you're backstabbing it. Outgrowing an environment, it's only evolution, because you're allowed to change. Life moves on, the journey moves ahead, so you are also moving ahead. So you're allowed to change, you're allowed to expand, you're allowed to become more aligned with who you truly are. Because staying disconnected from yourself just to remain comfortable for others, eventually it will become your biggest pain point in the long run. So if today's episode resonated with you, I want you to remember that growth will sometimes be very uncomfortable. It will require you to release what no longer fits you. Not with anger, not with superiority, but with honesty. Because you are not meant to stay the same forever. You are meant to evolve. And the people, spaces, environments that do not serve you anymore, you are supposed to let go of them, and you are supposed to align yourself with people, spaces, and environments that suit your highest purpose now. So, well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, share it with somebody who needs to hear this right now. And don't forget to subscribe to the Flight to Fulfillment podcast on either YouTube or Substack or Apple or Spotify, wherever you're more comfortable, so that you don't miss out on a single dose of inspiration coming your way. Until next time, this is me, Ratika Seth, your life enhancement coach, signing off for now, but asking you to trust your evolution, honor your growth, and remember, you are allowed to outgrow what no longer aligns with your soul. I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye-bye.